Hey, what's up, folks? Today is July. Today is July the 6th, 2025, and I'm just going to. So the object of the videos. There we go. All right, let's get that down. All right, so the object of the videos for the next little bit of a set is to kind of go back into time. Not starting all the way over, but going back to some of the basics, just to get us up to speed to where we are now with the programming with EasyLanguage. So today is step one. So today is what is programming. Well, programming is essentially just information or code that you put into the programming to tell the computer what to do. So the programming is the instruction set, right? All right, so the next one is what is EasyLanguage. Essentially, it's, well, you take the basics of programming, but you're probably not looking to build the next Facebook. Maybe you're a trader or investor, or you're just fascinated by the financial markets. You have ideas about when to buy or sell, or you just want to test them, prove them, or even automate them. So that's where EasyLanguage comes in. It's a set of specialized programming created by TradeStation specifically for traders. It's the engine, more or less, behind the platform for TradeStation. It's also using other software like multi-charts if you do anything with some of the other trading platforms. But unlike general purpose languages like Python, EasyLanguage is built from the ground up for one thing, just for analyzing financial markets and executing trades. And that's one of the reasons why I moved over to it from Thinkorswim, is because I wanted to automate my trading as opposed to just be able to make indicators to give me signals. So why should the trader learn this specific language? Three huge reasons. One is it's designed to be easy, although some may say it is not so. But I really do enjoy the time that I spend with EasyLanguage in terms of being able to take simple pieces of the code, and it really is pretty quick at making computations and computing and running the program. So the syntax, or generally the grammatical rules of the language, is designed to read like plain English. The goal was to empower traders, not computer scientists. So let's imagine you have a trading idea, such as if the close of a price of a stock today is higher than its price was yesterday, so you want to buy it. In a complex language, this could take many lines of setup. In EasyLanguage, it looks something like this. So let's pull over. Let's pull over we'll just call this 070625. Put a space in there. I shouldn't have done that. All right, so again, we want to say if the close of today is greater than the high of yesterday, we'll just say if close is greater than high, and you can do it like this. Okay, but you need a then statement, then you want to do something, right? All right, so this is just saying if close is greater than the high of yesterday. So you could write this out as high, or high would also be just an H, right? So you can simplify your language a couple different ways. You put high like this. There is one that is, I think it's high day, and then you put parentheses, and then here you put the number of periods ago, whether it's high of day of today, which would be 0, or you could put high of 1 day ago, which would be with a 1. Okay, so you got a couple different ways you can write it out. Okay, so the next thing is you can do a lot of back testing. So, and that's really a game changer when it comes to trading. I mean, you really want to know if what you're doing now is repeatable for the future. And you can't read into the future, but you can at least review the past. Okay, so if we open up a chart, here, this is a futures contract for ES or S&P 500. All right, we're going to put it on like a 5-minute time frame. Okay, and let's do 4-hour sessions. Not going to do 24 hours. We'll do US stock with pre-market. So it's going to get rid of like the after-hour stuff. But if you want to do like a back test, you can simply, well, I say simply, but you can simply go in here, open up a strategy. We'll make this same thing, 0706 25, and then you'd write something like if open of today, if open day is greater than the close of day yesterday, a day ago. So if open of that current day is greater than the close of the day before, and current shares equals 0, so we don't have a position on, then buy this bar close. I think that'll work. All right, so we verify that we don't get any errors. Okay, so but we also need an exit, so we're going to say if current shares equals or is greater than 0 and time equals 12 o'clock. So we're just going to say that we're going to sell every day at 12 o'clock. Time is 12 o'clock. Then sell this bar close. Verify that, no errors. We're going to come over here. We're going to go to the add the strategy. And then that was 0706 25. Hit OK. Go over here, properties for all. You just want to add some things in here. Make sure that we do account for some commissions and slippage. We don't want to allow more than one trade per direction. We're just going to put 201 for the maximum number of bars the study will reference into the past. And then we hit OK, and then we hit OK, and we didn't get any errors. Good. Okay, so let's see what the, all right, so you see here, the open of the day is greater than the close, this day here, close here. And you have to pay attention to what the close of the day references, right? Because for futures is different for stocks. Depending on the sessions, you might think that here is the close of the day because it's 4 o'clock. That's typically when your stocks close. So you might think that here is the exit of the day, the close of the day. But I believe the close of the day might actually be here when the session closes at 5 o'clock. Remember, for futures, it technically closes at 5, reopens at 6, and then moves on, right? So the close of the day for the stocks might be here at 4 o'clock, but I believe the close of the day for futures will be the 5 o'clock. The stocks will be the 4 o'clock. Sorry. All right, so here we did get an open above the close of the day before, and so we took that position long, and then we closed it right here at 12 o'clock. All right, you see this day here, we opened down here lower than the close of the day before, so we didn't take a long position here. All right, and then here on this day, the open looks like, not sure if that went short there. Oh, I see. We're getting into a little bit of trouble here, I believe. Well, we had some holidays here recently, and the days didn't complete fully. So looks like here we're buying at 12 o'clock. Why are we buying at 12 o'clock? We're only supposed to be buying at open day and selling at 12 o'clock. Okay, so let's look back at our script, and it says if the open of the day is greater than the close of day of embargo and current shares equals 0, then buy this bar at close. Okay, so what it's doing is it's saying even though we sold here, that's great, but technically this bar is being evaluated with this criteria again. Okay, all these bars would be evaluated with that same criteria. And because we're looking at the open of the day and the close of the day, that number doesn't change. The open of the current day and the close of the day before doesn't change. So technically we should say, like, if this is the first bar of the session, or if this is the 9:30 bar or something like that, then we're going to buy. Okay, so let's say if it's open day, if the open of the day is greater than the close of the day before it, and it's 9:30, and we don't have a position on, then buy the bar close. Okay, so and time is equal to 0930, and we don't have any shares. Okay, boom. So now we hit that. And so now we did get a buy here. We got a buy here at 9:30 because the open of the day is higher than the close of the day before. We bought that. We sold here at 12 o'clock. We didn't take another position because nothing else was at 9:30 until we get to the next day. Well, this next day, this open of the day was above the close of the day before it, and it's 9:30, so we took that position long. And then at 12 o'clock, we sold. Okay. On this day, this open of the day was less than the close of the day before it, so we did not take a position at 9:30. Okay, so now when we just use that simple criteria, we're going to go over here. We're going to go to the analysis, the performance report, and we can see that just with that simple strategy, the profit factor is 1.97. That's kind of crazy, but we have to understand a few things. Okay, so let's look at this. We're going to go to the performance graph. All right, so the performance graph overall, we took a hit on the first trade, but then after the first trade, which was, well, the first trade was a win, and then the second trade was a dud. Okay, and then the rest of the trades made a nice little trend up. Okay, so that one trade was a dud, and the rest of them trended up nicely. But, and then if you look at, like I said, the performance summary, overall your percent profit was 66.67, so that's not bad, and the profit factor is 1.97. So, excuse me, it gives us a risk reward ratio of roughly what 1 to 2, which is not bad, especially just to write this that quick. That's kind of crazy. So again, this is not a financial advising platform. I'm not a financial advisor, nor licensed, nor personal or individual, so I wouldn't take this and trade with it, but that's just interesting to look at. And all I'm saying is that you can back test with your strategies on TradeStation. So you can look back how many ever days and see that if you had have employed this strategy, you would have taken 6 trades, because I guess it probably went back 5 days span. 9 trades would have went back. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a 15-day span. All you got to do is go over to, like, its settings here. Start time was 6:13. End time was 7:04. So that was approximately a 2-week span. Yep. And then it gives you some settings. You can do other back testing and optimization. But let's go over here and change this length of time. So let's take it back 60 days and see how tough it would have been at that point. 60 days back, go back to performance summary, and it still gave us a net profit. The performance graph looks a little crazier. This is that dip that 2 weeks ago, I believe. Look at this dip. Okay, so I'm just really curious though. Let's go back 90 days. Wow, that's crazy. That's simple? It can't be that simple. All right. Well, let's look at this. Let's look at this. So if we look at the daily chart. Now there's going to be one of your issues there. All right. So this contract here for ESU25 really started back up. I don't think it started here, but this contract for E-minis, the U version of the contract, I think started up. Oh, you can see the volume. So it must have started here around 611. So that's only a month back. So we're asking it to look back a whole 90 days, but we technically only have 30 days worth of data. So instead of using ESU25, let's use the the continuous contract for ES, which is at ES. Now we're going to go back to the screen here. We need to put it on the 5-minute time frame, and let's see what it gets. Okay, 5-minute time frame. Now let's go make sure that we're on 90 days worth of a range. 90 days worth of a range? No, that still says 6-6. Okay, so let's go here. It says 90 days. 6-6. That is only about 30 days there. Let's pull this back up. Interesting. Where's the rest of our data? 90 days back. 90 days. Oh. It's not showing us any past that 30-day mark. This is interesting. This is something that I've never noticed. So unless it's still waiting on server data or something, prior to this 6-6, prior to this 30-day mark, it doesn't appear to be giving us any volume. It's not really giving us much data, so that's very, very interesting here. Anytime when I've looked at strategies and that kind of thing before, I don't recall that it just didn't give you information. So let me try changing this around to maybe NQ and then coming back to it and see if it just is like pending data. Yeah, so you see when I put it on NQ, it said pending data for a minute. Now when we go back, it still doesn't show us information or volume prior to that, which is very weird. So auto detect, let's give that 51 bars because it has a 50 period moving average. There we go. So that auto detect wasn't working right for that, but I don't know that that limited our strategy. No, so our strategy is going back to 228, but it still is not giving us any trades prior to June the 11th, which again is very awkward. That might have something to do with the max bars back setting. So let's go to edit studies. Let's go here, but I think we only set it for 201 for the max bars back anyway, so it shouldn't be an issue there. Properties for all, 201 max bars back. So we're going to set that at 51. Okay, so now we did get more trades. Perfect. But still, setting it at 201 should not have given us that kind of issue, I don't think. All right, so now when we go to the strategy performance report, that looks a lot crazier, but it's still in the upward direction. I think that's obviously because, like on the daily chart though, we hit a rebound somewhere in here and then we started moving up. So let's go back to ES. I think we're gonna have to, okay, so it still kept us back in February. All right, there we go. All right, so the chart looks similar. Again, that curve, although it looks crazy, it's trending up, right? Let's see, from 228, let's go here and go back to the daily time frame. All right, so from 228, this is from 4.7. So from 228, we were running this thing from 228. So in this range here, we ran it from here all the way over, which a bit of this from 228 was still in a downtrend, and it just started finding its retracement and its trend change here around April. So that strategy might be legit, and I do have another strategy that I'm using here recently, so that might not be a bad idea to kind of overlay this more or less kind of higher time frame analysis over top of some of my other lower time frame scripts to say, hey, if you're on one of those days, then take along on that day. I don't know. All right, so that's a good way that you can back test for sure. So in essence, with EasyLanguage, you can write a complete trading strategy with entry and exit rules, and you can tell the platform, hey, go back 10 years and run the strategy on on say Apple or Nvidia stock and show me the results. So I mean, that's very cool in the way that it does that. The platform, it can kind of simulate, as you saw there with those like the time frame you see here. It can more or less simulate every trade your strategy would have made, giving you a detailed performance report. And you can see if your idea would have been profitable, how much risk would be involved, how consistent it was. It allows you to test and refine dozens of ideas in just an afternoon. The process it would technically be, I don't want to say impossible to do manually, but it would be improbable to do it that way. So if we go back here and we go back to like performance analysis, it can even show you based on how much drawdown you would have had. You see here on the performance graph, like this is probably your toughest drawdown. This price, the profit level here was about $2,000, and we went down as low as $190. So that's a drop of almost $1,800. If you go over to the performance summary, let's see if it shows drawdown, max drawdown. You see here $1,800, right? So what you see in the performance graph is actually given to you on a report, right? $1,800, the max drawdown that you would have. So if you consider that max drawdown and how many contracts you were trading and all the above stuff, it can give you an idea of, it's on here somewhere, but it'll give you an idea of what size account you need to trade this specific strategy. In terms of if you had a drawdown, you'd need to have X amount of capital above that drawdown plus the amount of your position size, and it'll say, all right, well, your account size would need to be X amount. So return on capital, account size required 1,800, which I think this is off. Like I said, it says that you need to have an account size of $1,800, and that's that same $1,800 there for the drawdown. But I guess technically, no, that wouldn't be right, because at least when you're using a margin account for ES, when you're using a margin account, and maybe this is assuming that you're not using a margin account, so those kind of things, considerations need to be taken into account when you're using a margin account. Yeah, you might only need $1,800 in order to trade one contract of ES, but they won't let you go more than like a 10% drop in your position of equity. So say the contract costs $1,800, you wouldn't be able to lose more than $180 on that position before they will liquidate your account, before they will do a margin call on you. And so if you're in an $1,800 position on a stock that you own with cash, yes, you would be able to draw down all the way to, essentially $0 of equity. And I guess, yeah. I was gonna say technically you could go past that, but $0 is $0. But so yeah, with a stock that you own cash, you'd be able to go down that far. But if you are using futures and you are using margin, then you wouldn't be able to go down, any further than $180. So this account size required would need to add on another $1,800 on top of this, essentially. Let me see if there's anything else to talk about with that. No, but just kind of looking at that though, that would be something interesting for TradeStation to consider, as far as being able to adjust this account size required based on whether or not you are in a futures contract and or you're in another type of leverage position, so it could give you an actual accurate number there. Okay. All right, so that's pretty cool. All right, so finally, once you've built a strategy and the back testing shows that it has promise, you can then automate it. Now, automating is, it's not tough. Literally what I just showed you, that is a strategy you could just take that in this strategy here and just say, hey, trade it live. But if you want to trade it using order tickets and that kind of thing, then you'd be essentially into what I've been into with my most recent project, which is, 1,700 lines long with order tickets and a user interface and all that kind of stuff that allows you to do or operate more robustly. But this is much simpler and it'll get the job done, right? It'll get the job done. Ultimately, you can instruct the platform to watch the market for you, and you can execute your trades automatically the moment your specific criteria are met, which removes one of the biggest obstacles to trading, which is human emotion. And that's really why I'm trying to do a better job with the programming pieces, because I need to remove the human emotion. But like I said, there's multiple ways to go about this. So the automated strategy essentially just doesn't get greedy. It doesn't get scared. It follows the logical rules you wrote in your EasyLanguage 24/7. Now, there are times when, there might be a little bug or something like that, or your computer might shut down inadvertently, or you might lose a connection to the internet. Consequently, you need a strategy that's going to be able to pick back up where it left off when it reconnects. And these strategies, I think that's one of the limitations with them, is that when you're using a strategy here, that it doesn't necessarily remember your real world position, because it won't send. I think this strategy here stores your orders or stores your entries and that kind of thing on your computer, right? So if you have a reset, or if you have a disconnect to your server, then you may not get right back into the position and be able to keep going fluidly like you would if you had order tickets and you were using this kind of a program. So this kind of a program would then still be able to look at your position provider or your account provider or your order provider and tell where you are or how many orders you have when it logs back on, and then it'll make the right adjustment. This strategy here, these strategies are a little bit more fickle. So when you go to edit studies, it gives you more prompts so that you can try to figure out what's going on. So like when you're doing automation, strategy will fill non-historical orders when the trade match. There's all these bits and pieces that makes it a little less reliable, I would say. But I think in the grand scheme of things, if you are trading and you're not too far from your computer and you've got the automation going, I think you'll be just fine. Okay, so let's bring it all together. Just essentially, programming is a fundamental skill of giving instructions to a computer, allowing us to create amazing software that runs our world. Head to toe, up and down, AI, computers, programming, cars, all that kind of stuff. EasyLanguage is just a perfect example of how we use that with trading. And EasyLanguage, like I said, works with TradeStation and multi-charts. It takes a fundamental concept and applies it directly to the world of trading, making it accessible, powerful, and incredibly practical for anyone looking to gain an edge in the financial markets, empowering you to move from being a passive user of standard tools to an active creator of your own custom indicators and automated strategies. It's a bridge between your trading idea and its real world execution. All right, so if you guys have any questions, concerns, be sure to leave them in the comments. This has been a little bit different of a video, but I kind of like it. Like I said, we kind of starting back from the beginning, and as we're just kind of talking about what TradeStation can do and those kind of things, I also want to just show you some examples of what it can do, but we'll get into some more detailed stuff later. But this was interesting, and this was really interesting for me to see just the strategy performance report. It wasn't even a real complex script, but it gives you ideas of how it can perform. I mean, look at that. How do you start down with your first trade a loss of $4,000? That must have been one of those days where the market was really crazy, where it was a humdinger, the volatility. So let's see. Must have been a super sell-off day. And wherever the open was, it just dropped slam off. Let's see, if we go to trades list, the first trade was a negative $4,000. Wow. This was on 414. So yeah, but again, that's the power of being able to program your thoughts, and then see how the back tests and the history kind of confirms or denies what you were thinking in terms of it being a viable trading opportunity. Very cool. All right, guys, I'm Eric. I'm out. Peace.